Howdy folks, hope you're all having a good one, and welcome back to World of Warships with Rear Admiral Jingles, where today we're in a Tier 10 domination battle on the Trap map, starring, and I'm positive we've seen this guy before, this is not the kind of name you forget in a hurry, Oh God, Not the Bees, reference to the Wicker Man there. The good Christopher Lee and Edward Woodward version, not the utterly terrible Nicolas Cage version. In case you're wondering, they put a cage over his head and fill it with bees, so that's nice. Anyway, oh God, not the bees, in the British Tier 10 destroyer, HMS Daring. An excellent ship. I don't think anybody would seriously call this thing overpowered, but it is very good in almost every respect. She has 6 113mm guns in 3 dual-purpose turrets. All of the turrets can rotate at full 360 degrees. And they have very fast turret rotation speed anyway. The fact that they can all turn 360 degrees is just icing on the cake. Now I think it is fair to say that the gun caliber, 113mm, is a bit on the meh side. 113mm shells, the high explosive shells, are going to struggle. Particularly against battleships and heavy cruisers. They're still brutal against destroyers, but not so much against just about anything else. However, this is made up for by the fact that the armor-piercing shells get improved auto-bounce angles. So, basically, at angles where armor-piercing shells fired by other destroyers would just ricochet, the Darings do tend to hurt. And she spits all 6 of them out incredibly quickly with a base reload of only 2.8 seconds. Her health pool is kind of mediocre. She starts out with 20,800, but if you take the survival expert skill, which, oh God, not the bees has, you can get that up to over 24,000, and she does have 2 heals to compensate for the kind of mediocre health pool. Her torpedoes are exactly the same ones that you get on the Minotaur, with a speed of 62 knots and a range of 10 kilometers. They're not bad, they're not great, they're very good torpedoes to have on a light cruiser, they're just okay torpedoes to have on a destroyer. She has fairly strong anti-aircraft firepower. She has a couple of those 40mm Bofors, and the main battery guns are dual purpose, so can also be used in the anti-aircraft role, but she doesn't get the defensive anti-aircraft fire consumable to back them up. Her stealth is, she can get it down to 6 kilometers, which isn't terrible, but it's definitely not good either. Fortunately, the only destroyer on the enemy team is an Elbing, which has even worse stealth, and in fact is really more of a light cruiser than a destroyer. And, oh God, not the bees appears to, well, he had a choice of 3 cap circles, there's only 1 destroyer on the enemy team, and of course, it's over here. Somebody else is contesting this cap. He does of course have the RPF skill, you can see it up there on screen, and it is pointing straight towards the closest enemy. It's not the Napoli over there, which means somebody is closer than 12.7 kilometers, and it has to be the Elbing. The Elbing is probably being extremely nervous because he knows that his stealth is absolutely god-awful. He also has to know that he is sharing this cap circle with another destroyer, and therefore he is going to get outspotted. So I'm expecting that Elbing to be waiting to see whether or not he gets spotted and smoke up the instant. There he is. And there's the smoke, yeah. Now that was kind of weird, because the Elbing was spotted at 7 kilometers, but the RPF skill is still pointing in another direction, which means there's somebody else here closer than 7 kilometers. Which must be one of the enemy submarines. There are 2 in play. Now, the Daring, like other British destroyers, can ripple fire its torpedoes, launch them 1 at a time. But when you're saturating the smoke screen with torpedoes, it's wiser, which is what Oh God Not the Bees has done, to narrow spread fire them instead. Now he's creeping over to this side of the cap circle because he doesn't want to get spotted by any enemy submarines that were in the direction that the RPF skill was pointing. But now the Elbing is the closest enemy ship. RPF is pointing straight at it. Also, he wants to get close enough to finish off the Elbing if his torpedoes don't get him, and he did get him with 2 torpedoes. It's not quite enough to kill him. He's panicking, trying to leave the smoke screen. Too little, too late. There's the first blood award, and interestingly, not spotted, which is weird because there was something else closer than 7 kilometers. Must have been one of the submarines. But at the moment the Elbing died, he went undetected despite the fact that he just fired his guns. So that tells us that there is no longer anybody within 12.8 kilometers, the range of his guns, with line of sight to spot him after the Elbing died. Which probably means, I mean, he's now flipped the cap, so if there was an enemy submarine in here earlier, he's not here anymore, and is either not within 12.8 kilometres, or he's submerged and is unable to spot anything. Oh god, not the bees, running his hydro there. British destroyers have a special hydro. He triggered it just in case of any Elbing torpedoes, although the Elbing's torpedoes are utterly terrible. They have a 13.5 kilometre range, which is nice, but they have a speed of 50 knots, which is not nice. They're incredibly easy to dodge. In fact, the Elbing is probably the worst destroyer in the game for fighting other destroyers. Its torpedoes are terrible, its high explosive shells are utter garbage, its armour-piercing shells just tend to over-penetrate on destroyers. It's really for killing light cruisers, something that it does exceptionally well. It was actually quite brave of the enemy Elbing to continue to contest this cap once he knew there was an enemy destroyer in here with him. I was talking about the Daring's hydro, wasn't I? It was the special thing about the Daring's hydro is that it has very short range, only about 3.5 kilometres, but it lasts forever. Essentially, it's a torpedo defence hydro. It's not much good for anything else, but it lasts a very, very long time. Which means, as long as the Daring captain is paying the slightest bit of attention, it's very hard to torpedo one of these destroyers. Not that that was ever really going to be a threat as far as the Elbing was concerned. The other special thing about the Daring, you'll note, he's got a lot of charges on that smokescreen generator. And again, this is a British destroyer thing. Very short reload on the smokescreen. Lots of charges. But the smoke cloud does not last for long. It's more a get-out-of-jail-free card than, for example, American smokescreens, where you can loiter in them forever. Now, at this point, there are 3 enemy ships at about 10 kilometres. The Moskva, up ahead, who was playing chasey-chasey, catchy-catchy, kissy-kissy with the friendly Smolensk around the island over there, and he caught him, but he's not going to survive it. Over to the left, there's also a Napoli and a Vittorio Veneto. And they're also at a range of about 10 kilometres, but the RPF skill is not pointing towards them. And oh god, not the bees has seen this, and he's been pinging the map because he knows that there's something else over there that's a little bit closer. He suspects it's the enemy submarine, and sure enough, there it is. Tier 8, the U-190. Now, obviously he knows he's been spotted. He doesn't like that very much, so he's submerged. Up until now, oh god, not the bees has been playing this pretty safe. He's been smart, he's been methodical, he hasn't really taken any chances. That is all about to change. He's going after that submarine. Backing up the friendly salmon here. Because, well, submarines are only really good for one thing, and it's not hunting other submarines. Somebody just dropped a series of depth charges up there from an airstrike. Not quite sure who it was. There go some torpedoes. Those are probably from the Napoli. Note also that the Cyclone is closing in. Now, visibility is still reasonably good, but it's going to get progressively worse as each second goes by. This is both good news and bad news for a destroyer. Generally, in a Cyclone, if you're in a destroyer, it can be very, very upsetting to blunder to within 8 kilometres of an enemy capital ship before you realise he's there. But if he can catch this submarine, the submarine will spot him, but if he can kill the submarine, once that visibility closes down, neither the Vittorio Veneto nor the Napoli should be able to see him. He's been detected, so that's the submarine. Where is he? There he is. Now, there are a couple of incredibly frustrating things about submarines. One, even if you can see them, like now, you're not allowed to shoot at them. So he's going to have to close in and use the depth charges. I mean, at least he has depth charges, so that's good. The other frustrating thing, note that the RPF has just flipped to point to a target off to the right, despite the fact that he's sitting on top of and depth charging a submarine. That's right, when a submarine has submerged, RPF no longer tells you where it is. Well, anyway, he's got it. The funny thing about the U-190, if you go to the World of Warships wiki page and look up the U-190, in the pros and cons section, and I think this is hilarious, whoever edited this Wikipedia page deserves a medal. It just says pros, pre-sunk, cons, not always. I would like to shake the hand of whichever rock star did that wiki page edit. Anyway, he nailed the U-190, RPF now pointing in the direction of the Bismarck over there at a range of 7-ish kilometres. So, the Bismarck secondaries are no joke, especially if the Bismarck captain is specced into them. So, keeping hard cover between himself... oh, look at that! Another enemy submarine on the surface this time. He's only going to get a couple of shots at it. And is he going to hit? He is. 1 penetration. Sadly, nowhere near enough. And you're about to see a perfect example of why a Cyclone can be an utter nightmare for a destroyer captain. Visibility is closed down to 8 kilometres, and he thinks that he's going to fight this 7 provinces here, the Dutch cruiser, maybe with some interference from the submarine, but he's in a daring, you know, he's got depth charges, he can probably handle that, and not have to worry about anything else. So he stops, smokes up, and starts farming the 7 provinces, who has just killed the shores, which is unfortunate. He's now backing up and heading the other way. There goes the armour piercing, which is generally the type of ammo that you should be using on most cruisers and above in this ship, because the high explosive just doesn't have the penetration. And you get improved auto bounce angles with the AP. And he's doing reliable damage. Now remember, this smoke doesn't last very long, but it does have a very short cooldown. He's lost sight of the 7 provinces, but the submarine has just popped up. He's launching torpedoes here. He's not going to hit the submarine with them, of course, because if the submarine doesn't want to be torpedoed, all he has to do is submerge. But it looked like the 7 provinces was turning around and coming back. Why would the 7 provinces be turning around and coming back? Because that's exactly what he's doing. Well, he knows something, but oh god, not the bees, doesn't. The torpedoes there passing harmlessly over the enemy sub. Yes, he knows that he's got backup from a Grosser Kurfürst, who just popped into visibility. And oh shit, yeah, that is not good. They've taken care of the friendly salmon, which means the only thing they have to shoot at now is oh god, not the bees. Fortunately, because nobody in a destroyer wants to get caught within secondary gun battery range of a Grosser Kurfürst, he has that very, very short cooldown, but short duration smokescreen. And that's what saved his arse there. He's killed the 7 provinces. Now he's farming armour piercing on the superstructure of the Grosser Kurfürst, who has to be going wild with frustration here, knowing that there's a destroyer this close, but his secondaries can't touch it. Now here comes the Vittorio Veneto. Again, notice that the RPF skill had flipped to point in another direction, and here comes a big angry Italian, and he's going to have to nail him quick, because, well, 1, the smokescreen isn't going to last very long, and 2, he's already gotten close enough to see him shooting out of the smokescreen, so... oh, this is not good. Oh, and now he's been pinged by the enemy submarine. He burns his damage control, kills the Vittorio Veneto, but here's the thing. Damage control, as an ability to remove the sonar ping, is great. But it's got a much, much longer cooldown than the sonar ping, so, you know, all the submarine does is ping you again. Homing torpedoes. Another genius concoction from the Good Ideas Club at Wargaming St. Petersburg. Although thankfully they have at least toned them down a little, so it is now possible for a destroyer to avoid them once they're locked on. It's not looking good though. He's on fire, his damage control's on cooldown, he doesn't have an awful lot of health left, and he's still pinged. He's got to close in and kill this submarine. Fortunately, and that's a double ping, that is not good. He's able to avoid the torpedoes again, and, well, yeah, if you're trying to avoid getting depth charged by a destroyer, sailing directly underneath the destroyer is not the best way to do it. So he nails the USS Salmon, earning the Kraken Unleashed award, and of course, with the smoke up and the Salmon no longer spotting him, that means he's no longer getting pelted by either Napoli or the secondaries of the Grosser Kurfürst. So that's a relief. It's now 3 against 3. However, the enemy team do have 2 of the cap circles, and around about a 130-ish points lead. The friendly Golden Line, however, takes out the enemy mines, and that drops the lead to just under 100 points. What oh god not the bees needs to do now is start taking cap circles. The Cyclone's still in effect, so he can't actually see the Napoli or the Grosser Kurfürst, but he can see where they are on the map, and hey, he's got nothing else to fire his torpedoes at, so why not? He makes it into the cap circle. The bad news is, he's not alone in here. The Napoli's still over there. Now, you don't really want to get into a gunfight with a Napoli when you have this little health remaining and no heals, but the Napoli's guns are all pointing in the other direction. Although he is in range of the Napoli's 152mm secondaries, that is not good. And he actually takes a couple of hits from the Napoli's 152mm secondaries, which was incredibly unlucky. I mean, he doesn't have to worry about the 90mm secondaries, they're not going to actually penetrate his armour. But he was unlucky to take some hits from the 152s. Still, he's no longer spotted, the torpedoes are on the way, and just to be on the safe side, he's going to get the island between himself and anything else that could potentially spot him, particularly since the Cyclone is about to start lifting, which means visibility is going to start being restored. Fortunately, he's no longer sharing the cap circle with the Napoli, so he is going to be able to flip uncontested. It's because the Napoli and the Grosser Kurfürst are chasing the other two remaining ships on the team, the Thunderer and the Golden Lion. Normally, during most World Warships battles, this is the point where one team starts trying to win harder than they need to. At the moment, that would be the enemy team, because they're the ones winning. On the rare occasions when that does not happen, and this is one of those occasions, what then tends to happen is the surviving members of your team start throwing their lives away pointlessly. Now, the friendly Thunderer did just go down, which has given the enemy team an even bigger points lead. But he wasn't throwing his life away pointlessly. He wasn't broadsiding a Grosser Kurfürst and a Napoli. He was trying to kite away, stay alive, go undetected, and deny the value of his points to the enemy team. The Golden Lion is doing exactly the same thing. The Grosser Kurfürst is hunting down that Golden Lion. He's not wasting his time trying to hunt a destroyer around the cap circles. The Napoli is caught between a rock and a hard place here. He's trying not to die to the Golden Lion, but disengaging from the Golden Lion gave Oh God Not the Bees the opportunity for a clutch kill, his 6th of the match, and some badly needed points for the team. He has managed to flip this cap. He's not going to go chasing after a Grosser Kurfürst. That would be very, very silly, because he's got less than 2,000 health remaining. The second and there's the Napoli torpedoes. You see, the Napoli probably knew he was going to die, but he thought, hey, what the hell? I'm either going to get killed by the Daring or I'm going to get killed by the Golden Lion. I might at least be able to torpedo the Daring, so he tried. Under the circumstances, that was not a bad thing to do. But of course, Oh God Not the Bees had that extremely long duration British short-range hydro running, so he saw the torpedoes coming in plenty of time to ensure he didn't actually get hit by any of them. And as I was saying, chasing after the Grosser Kurfürst, under these circumstances, not ideal. Because chasing after a fast battleship like the Grosser Kurfürst, you would have to get so close in order to launch torpedoes for them to catch up to him that you would get spotted, and then you're within secondary range of a Grosser Kurfürst and you've got less than 2,000 health. And if he was to try to shoot at the Grosser Kurfürst, he would be within secondary range of a Grosser Kurfürst, and he has less than 2,000 health remaining. The Golden Lion is desperately trying to kite away. He's doing absolutely the right thing, trying to stay alive for as long as possible to give Oh God Not the Bees the chance to flip these cap circles. Unfortunately for the Golden Lion, the Grosser Kurfürst in a straight line is a very, very fast battleship. It will do in excess of 30 knots. And that's not good news for the Golden Lion.
You're the last one standing.
And it's not particularly great news for Oh God Not the Bees either, because he's closing in on that final cap circle and there is absolutely nothing that the Grosser Kurfürst can do about it at this point. But with a minute and a half to go, the enemy team are still about 100 points ahead. Now, as he enters that cap circle, it's going to prevent the enemy team from accruing any more points. So the points that they have when he crosses the cap circle border are all the points they're ever going to have. And that just stopped them dead at 861 points. At the point where that happened, the enemy team were 82 points ahead. There is less than a minute remaining. He should be able to flip this cap in less than a minute, which will give him 3 cap circles. But is that going to be enough? You see, the problem with the Daring is its rather pedestrian top speed of 36 knots. This is not unusual. Not every destroyer in the game zips around at 47 knots. Most of the American destroyers are saddled with this kind of mediocre top speed as well. Unfortunately, that mediocre top speed, the fact that the Daring does not get an engine boost, the fact that even with the speed flag equipped, the Daring will not go faster in a straight line than 36.7 knots, means that despite doing pretty much everything possible to win, Oh God Not the Bees is destined to lose this match by a mere 7 points. If this ship had an engine boost, if it had a top speed of 36 knots instead of 35, this would not have been a defeat. But, well, to be completely fair, the Daring is a pretty good ship. It can't have everything. And nobody tried to lose this game either, which was one of the most remarkable things. The enemy team didn't try to win any harder than they already were. Oh God Not the Bees teammates didn't try to throw it, and to be fair to him, he never tried to blame them for it either, certainly not in the battle and not in the email that accompanied this replay. At the end of the day, his ship just wasn't fast enough. And unfortunately, sometimes that's just the way it goes. Hope you enjoyed today's video, folks. As always, take care, stay safe, and I'll catch you next time.